Imagine disappearing for 30 days only to come back and achieve more than what your friends achieved in a year. Imagine you went dead quiet only to come back and studied more in 30 days than people studied in their entire year. Okay, I know I sound like those cringe grind mindset influencers, but the truth is, if you want to get ahead of others in just 30 days, then this video is for you. Because in this video, you're going to be learning the different things that help you propel forward, like optimizing your time, the 80-20 rule, and so much more. And if you're really serious about this, then watch this video till the end and make sure to take note of what I say. I hope you enjoyed this video and good luck on your journey. Let's get straight into it. So the first thing is to ask yourself, what is the one thing that if I did consistently for 30 days would make everything else easier or unnecessary? For example, if your goal is to get a really fit body, then the thing that you'll be doing for 30 days, obviously, is to work out straight. If it was going to be getting ahead in others in school, then it will be studying for 30 days straight. Now, the first mistake that people do when doing this challenge is that they go way too hard. Remember, the point of this transformation or this 30-day challenge isn't necessarily to get you to achieve your goal immediately. The point of this is to set up a good foundation to put yourself ahead of others. And I know this is kind of superficial, but yeah, it is what it is. And the main key to that is the first step, which is prioritization. If you want to achieve more in 30 days than what most people do in a year, then you will have to pick one goal that will pretty much impact your life. Now, you may be thinking, Kai, but that's pretty much everyone else. This is pretty boring advice. And trust me, the first step is, but the next step that I'll be showing you will pretty much guarantee that you will have an edge over others. However, for now, you will have to choose one thing that will impact your life in a big way, whether that will be career related, school related, or project related. Now, we can talk about balancing your life later, but as of right now, you're going to have to focus on this one thing. Now, after you're done picking one thing or one area that you'll be focusing on, it's time to build the central goal that you'll be achieving every day in order to get closer to that goal. Think of it like your daily goal habit that you'll be doing for 30 days. If you want to get ahead in school, then your goal is to be studying every day for the next 30 days using effective study methods, or at least developing a study method that works for you. And the core of it is that you will be building the habit of studying every day. The point here is that you're building that consistent habit every day for 30 days so that it becomes one of your habits that you do every day for the rest of your life until your goal is achieved, or even after your goal is achieved. Because once you build a central habit that you'll be doing for the next 30 days, it's time to move on to the next rule, which is the 80-20 rule. And this is by far one of the most important rules that I could teach you, and this is the 80-20 rule, which states that 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort. Now, a lot of people get this principle wrong. People might think that just doing 20% of the effort outcomes 80% of the results. However, what it's actually saying is that certain tasks yield a bigger proportionate outcome. For example, in business, they say that 80% of your income comes from 20% of your customers. So instead of expanding your customer base, just focus on that 20%. Likewise in life, if you focus on the 20% tasks that give out 80% of the outcome, then you will be quite set with life. And this is an important efficiency general rule to follow, because some tasks that you do in the day are just not the same and they don't yield the same amount of outcome. You will really have to pick a task that is very high yielding and high impacting on your life. Think about it like a specific quest that has a higher yield reward. Obviously, you won't be wasting your time doing quests that don't yield that much reward, so you end up pursuing the quests that give much more reward or more given your input of effort. Which moves me to you identifying your high impact tasks. What are the tasks that you should be doing that will yield a bigger outcome? So, for example, recently I started to meal prep my meals, and they've impacted my life so much actually, not only because I'm eating the correct macros that I need for the day, but I don't have to worry about cooking or ordering anymore. Every time I'm hungry, I just pop to the kitchen, take out my meal prep, and I reheat it in the microwave. It's sort of like a compound benefit for me just designating one day to cook all my meals. And not only is it quite fulfilling in some way with itself, because I feel so much better eating home-cooked meals over meals outside, but I'm even learning how to cook ever so slowly. Now, other habits that you could be building that are compound habits and high-impact ones could be your sleeping habits. I can't stress how important it is to have a good sleeping schedule, and trust me, I understand how hard it is to create a good routine. So Once you do, it's pretty much a great foundation for your life, trust me. Now, another part of the 80-20 rule is to eliminate the tasks that do not yield as much result as others. Now, this could be minor tasks like answering emails, passive studying, organizing, and much more. Well, I'm not saying that these tasks are bad. Try not to focus your energy into them. So in alignment with your goal, try to imagine one task that will compound benefit you in the long run. And what's more important is that try to identify the things you're doing in the day that does not really necessarily yield that much compared to other tasks that you may be doing in the day. For example, one notable thing that I notice that even I do most of the time is the idea of planning versus doing. I notice a lot that I plan for a lot of things, but that's not a really high yield task that I should be using my time for. If you want to be efficient with your time, do the things, even if they're boring, that really impact your life compared to things that make you feel like your life is being impacted. Trust me, it's very easy to fall into the trap, such as planning, for example. Alright, next up we have is one of my favorite hacks that I actually found out from Amy Wang, and that hack can give you twice the amount of time that you have, and that hack is to essentially cut down your transition times between tasks. Now, even though having a balanced life is great, we are horrible at assuming on how much time we spend lounging around. Usually, when we're done with tasks in between them, we would always end up doing something else that would take almost as long as the time we do for work. And while that might not seem as much, you will notice that it will start piling up to the point where you will start to feel like you don't even have enough time to do anything else, when really, you're just spending most of your time in little increments lounging around. So the quick fix to this is to simply cut down your transition time. Every time you come home from work or school, try to take a quick shower immediately, or at least spend less time settling down so that you have time to go straight to your next task. Because trust me, I know how tempting it is to just sit down and to rest and watch reels. And while yes, rest is important, think of how hard it is to wake up from a nap. Remember, once you relax, it's easy that your body just follows the rest of the flow, and you could end up potentially wasting your time on the next task. Now, one good app that I found that's pretty good at tracking your time, and coincidentally is today's sponsor, Rize.io. Now, I've always been obsessed with tracking my time, and I've never really found an app that allowed me to track my time seamlessly. Until recently when Rize approached me, which if you guys don't know, Rize is an automatic time tracker app that tracks pretty much your activity on your computer automatically. And not having to manually track my time is such a game changer in my honest opinion. Rize pretty much tracks your time and auto tags your projects and tasks, meaning that you don't even have to use the manual timer anymore. And what's cool about Rize is that they provide the tools to deepen your ability to focus. So they have a website blocker, and they also have an array of focus music that you can listen to. One of my favorite features about Rize is actually how the app would remind you when you're getting distracted, which is really cool because I get distracted easily, and sometimes I don't even know when I'm distracted, and it even reminds me to take a deep breath before work. So head down in the description below and use code KAI25 to get a discount for Rize. Again, thank you Rize for sponsoring this segment of the video. Back to the regular show. Now next, it's time for us to design what I call the minimum goal routine. Now, what does that even mean? Well, the minimum goal routine essentially is a routine that isn't super unrealistic and follows a set routine to further push to your goal. This routine, compared to a normal routine, follows the 80-20 rule to a T. Remember, if you guys want this foundation to stick, then we better slowly get into it rather than starting off strong. Now, one thing I didn't mention in the 80-20 rule is that perfectionism is actually something that you should avoid, as it doesn't yield that much output. Now, you might be asking, Kai, that sounds counterintuitive. Perfectionism is something that yields literal perfect results. I mean, that's why it's called perfectionism. But the thing is, perfectionism is flawed not because of it being perfect, but the fact that we humans are the one trying to achieve it. Hence why going slow is much better, as it encourages mistakes to be made. However, it does not hinder our progress even if the main goal isn't achieved. Remember, consistency over perfectionism encourages direction despite hardship. So, when setting up a minimum goal routine, I want you to set a sort of bare minimum that you have to do every day that's realistic for you. For example, a lot of times I encourage people to study every day regardless of how long. You could start with 30 minutes or 1 hour, then you can slowly start wrapping it up as you go. The main skill that you're trying to learn is the skill of building the habit of studying, not how long you can study in one day, but trying to maintain it throughout the 30 days. In my case, I still play games with my friends, and I come to accept the terms that I don't really like living without playing with my friends or playing video games in general. And cutting that part of my life out is just not very realistic because it's just not who I am. So, instead of trying to achieve a perfect day of just purely work, I tell myself that I will work until I'm set, of which then I'll be able to be free and I'll be able to play whatever games that I want. It may not be the perfect CEO businessman day, but it is the most efficient to me, myself, and I. Because remember, what I said about the 80-20 rule is that most of your results come from 20% of the effort, and me doing some sort of work every day leads to 80% of the results rather than putting 100% of effort on one day and burning out on the next. Now, to end this video, I want to talk about what productivity really means. There's a quote which Conan O'Brien says, which I really respect a lot, and it is this.
But the point is this: it is our failure to become our perceived ideal that ultimately defines us and makes us unique. It's not easy, but if you accept your misfortune and handle it right, your perceived failure can become a catalyst for profound reinvention.
One of life's lessons that we all have to come to terms at one point is that we will always fail to reach our perceived ideal. However, that does not mean that we failed as individuals, but rather our failure to pursue our perceived ideal is what ultimately makes us unique in the first place. And it is through these failures that possible reinvention is possible. This is by far one of my favorite life lessons from Conan O'Brien, and I really do think he's a smart person, and I really always take that to heart every time I go through my day. I try to achieve as much as possible, even though I know that I will fall short in some way. I just know it's part of the process, and that's what pretty much makes me who I am. I may not be as productive as Ali Abdaal, but everything that I'm doing made me who I am. So whenever you're going out through your day, if you haven't done everything that you've set yourself to do, don't worry, it's a part of life and it's a part of consistency. As long as you trust the process and as long as you're doing the things that you can do within your limit, then you will succeed in one way or another, as long as it's in the direction of the things that matter to you and your goals. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to drink your water, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!